We've talked a lot about today where clicks are fewer, and we know that rankings don't always tell the full story, and that adaptability is key. So, without further ado, Anne, let's do this.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I will get right to the point. That's a huge topic to discuss today. Us going through that together with you. We don't have all the answers, but I'm known as someone who tried to speak clearly about very complicated things. So do not expect too much technical terms here. I'm going to try and make it very easy to understand. So let's go from here. The clicks. We've been losing clicks. If you think that it's 1 or 2 year thing, it is not. We've been losing clicks for at least 10 years, and we've been referring to Google as answer engine for as long, ever since Google started giving all those quick answers in their search result pages. Featured snippets were clicking some clicks. People also ask, we're encouraging people to search more instead of clicking and converting. So we've been dealing with slowly but surely losing those clicks for at least 10 years now. And we've been talking about not depending on them that much and the importance of the brand for many years. And nowadays, it's almost like unavoidable. Finally, we deal with even bigger problems at this point, and this is AI. Here, the screenshot is from Google showing AI overviews. It's not the only AI generated feature in search results. We also have AI mode. AI answers are being introduced, and people also ask in map results, reviews, all of those things that people can read and never click anything. So we've been losing many more clicks throughout this year. From different research, it could be 30, 40, 50% of traffic people are seeing go. So this is a much faster evolution than it has ever been for the past 10 years, for sure. So let's talk about losing clicks but not losing conversions and how that works. This is the screenshot from AI mode. That is the newer feature of Google where people can keep conversing with the search engine instead of clicking anything and getting those answers right away, much like ChatGPT is working. What is interesting here? So I was searching for a CRM solution for my business. 3 years ago, it would have taken me at least a week of research that it would involve clicking everything. So I would first figure out why I need that. So some problem, like I could not organize my leads well or something like that. I would start searching for that. Then I would realize CRM solution would probably be my answer. So I would start searching for that, what it is, how it works, what are the options. If I'm a small business, if I'm a business to business model, then I would start reading about prices, reviews, what people are saying about different solutions. So it would have easily taken me a week of clicking to make a buying decision. Now, what happens now? All of that I just described happens within one answer, within at least a minute or two, depending on how much research different platforms are doing, the deep research. No one clicked anything. I didn't click anything. I just asked the question. And here is my answer based on all the criteria that I put in a prompt, or maybe I will put in the follow-up questions. But they already visited all the pages, AI agents, not me. I didn't click anything. They already have all the information about the features, about budgets, about pros and cons. They put it all in a table format for me to look through and ask other questions that would help me to make the buying decision. Again, 0 clicks. But the buying decisions do happen. I will ultimately choose something from this conversation and buy that. So the question today is, how do we still get those customers, get visible in these answers, and get those sales without, even if they do not necessarily involve clicks? And my presentation will be going through both clicks and no clicks conversion funnels. And that is the question is how to adapt from different levels. Let's briefly, again, we don't have all the names or acronyms settled down yet. Many people refer to all of this in different ways. I still think that's all SEO on a broader level, but it is different. So we do need some new names for that, which I picked was AIO, that's an artificial intelligence optimization, and GEO, that generative engine optimization. They are two different things as far as I'm concerned. You will hear different ways explaining that, but I feel like we need better organized and in understanding what we're dealing with. And so for now, I'm using these two acronyms until the industry decides what else should be used and how that should be described. So the GEO is optimizing to be referenced from the answers. So it's much about still traffic, getting those clicks from the answers. Yes, they are fewer. Many people will never click anything. They will be satisfied with the answer itself, but still, we already see a lot of traffic from ChatGPT, and that is the best traffic out there from many many clients I've talked to, because people do trust those references even more than if they find them in organic search. So there is still traffic, there are still clicks, and that is GEO, generative engine optimization. That includes citations. ChatGPT gives citations whenever it searches. Gemini gives citations. This is AI mode. As you can see, those citations are to the right of the answer, but there are still references. So how do we get listed here? Now, AIO, I think, is the future of where we are going to. That is the actual solution to the problem. So people want to buy something, they ask ChatGPT or Google at this point, it doesn't matter, they all generate answers and practically make buying decisions on customers' behalf. So our job as SEOs is making sure that our clients are actually included in that answer as the solution to the specific problem, whether it involves a click or whether it's just a mention of the brand name that solves that problem, doesn't matter. But that is your conversion funnel from here going forward. And let's discuss the easier part. The traffic generation part is actually the easier one. How do we get cited in those answers? How do we get referenced, and how do we get clicks, still some clicks from those answers as well? That is what I refer to generative engine optimization. It's very similar, a little bit different, but very similar to regular featured snippet optimization. It's a very old SEO tactic, been around for at least 10 years. I'm sure you've heard some of that during these other presentations. I will make it much easier to understand for sure. So you actually research questions and give good answers to those questions and make it easy for AI agents to pull that information from your website. And also you make it hard to summarize. So there are two tactics here. How do you actually get clicks from those answers? Is the first job is get included. The second job is make it hard to summarize. Let's quickly go through both. Again, optimizing for questions, very similar to what we did with SEO for featured snippet optimization, those that show up on top of organic search results, giving a good answer, but it wasn't AI driven at that point. So ask the question, you give immediate answer. The concise, very clear, very factual, very useful answer. You can elaborate further if that's a huge topic. You can even create a separate article addressing that question, but you have to give it easy to pull the answer for each instance you answer the question. How it's different from the traditional SEO is that we do not optimize so much for keywords anymore. We optimize for search journeys. So you want to make sure that exact match keywords may or may not be useful in that research. I still research questions based on keywords, but it doesn't mean that I have to answer all of those questions on the single page if it's not helpful for this particular journey. I'll give just a quick example. Here I'm listing some tools that can be useful talking to your customers. The first tool, of course, because you do need to know what actual people are asking. I'm using Gemini a lot at this point to find those questions, Gemini, because it's Google, some bias for sure. ChatGPT might be as well used for that, I assume, but I'm using Gemini, and that's the prompt that I just recently asked. So I have a client that has vacation rentals in Fort Myers. So I'm asking Gemini, so I have a vacation rental in this city. Which questions people may be asking going to that area? And my immediate, what I thought that the question would be was, okay, probably things to do there, best beaches, I don't know, something obviously people are asking going anywhere. Well, the question that Gemini suggested was pretty eye-opening. That was, what is the status of rebuilding of Fort Myers? What is going on with, like, which places are now open that were impacted by the weather conditions probably a year ago? I would have never thought about that. It has nothing to do with my keywords or my traditional thinking about the topic, but it was so useful. Definitely people going to Fort Myers are probably asking all the same question. Which places are open now, reopened, and what is the status of the rebuilding of most vacation spots there? Such a useful question, and it does belong on that page for optimization purposes. I'm sure many people would ask that in ChatGPT and Gemini, and that's how you get visibility there. Now, let's also mention that is, by the way, I didn't click, but that is the actual prompt that I suggested to Gemini for that research. You know, there is a fan out technique that AI platforms are using, and that is about exactly finding those questions that people are asking themselves, having a particular searching journey. So it may have nothing to do with with your keyword, with your core keyword, or it is different. It's not. It cannot be repurposed on page by page status like case, because it's all different. All those searching journeys are different. So if you're optimizing for Fort Myers vacation rentals, it is absolutely different from Miami Beach vacation rentals. Those are absolutely different questions. So think about searching journeys or sales funnel journey, like how close, how much more educated that person is based on those search queries on the page, and ask questions based on that and answer them on that page as well as you can. Again, very concise, very clear, no fluff, just straight to the facts, straight to the answer to that question. Yes, no, if it requires a number, if it requires entities, like actual listing of people that are reopened in this case, make sure all that the answer is 1-2 sentences long and includes all that information. Now, another thing that we have to address there is, how do we get people click that? One task is to be featured as reference. A different task is to require a click. And here there are also, I don't have all the answers, but at least I have 2 tactics that have been working very well for myself and my clients. That is, first, you make sure that you prioritize do queries. Do queries is something that is introduced by Google. Usually it's intent based. So the traditional look at search intent is informational, commercial, navigational. Google looks a little bit different on that, and I think it is much more useful in that AI context. They introduce no queries. This is when people are actually searching for information. This is the easiest thing to summarize and will most likely not require any click, because people will just get all that information in the AI answer. The different type that Google has is do queries. Is that when people are searching for something, preparing to make an action. That could be buy something or renovate something, or it could be DIY how-to tutorial. It could be different, but it is supposed that people want to do something after they search. And that is much harder to summarize. In most cases, people will still have to click to get additional details, to watch a video tutorial, to see the pictures of the of the tools they have to use, the original screenshots. So those do queries make it much much more required to click anything to get the answer and to follow the steps. So when you're looking at your keyword lists, that's what you need to be looking for. When a query actually suggests there is an action, do intent behind it. And that's a great tutorial to create for your website, because that will likely drive very good clicks to your site. Now we have much fewer clicks now, so this screenshot is also showing you how you can generate more conversions, making your products part of that do context. You don't have to be promotional, but making sure that you list some of your products as the solution to the problem is the best way to also generate conversions from those prompts and searches as well. It also is a great food for AI, because when you put your products in the problem solution context, that's when AI is learning from which prompts to suggest your products for. So there is a twofold benefit here. This is the example of those do queries in action. The query is bathroom decorating ideas. Very hard to summarize in an answer. If you're in the business of bathroom decorating in any way, that's definitely should be part of your content marketing page with ideas, maybe an article, maybe a gallery, maybe both. All of those queries are now gold, because people will be clicking those clicks. There is no easy way to summarize them in the answer. So let's talk about another type of content, that much more niche, but it may work for most businesses here, is being the source of the data. Reports, studies, white papers, industry research, whatever you can do to become source of new data. Great way to bring some qualified traffic to your site, because it again can be summarized in most cases. Those queries, when people search for Reddit statistics or something like that, they will click to more sources to find out more. This is an example of what I did at some point. The Reddit marketing statistics brings both qualified links and clicks. So think about kind of trying to do both, something that some statistical data or surveys that your target customers would be interested in as well, so that it's not just brand awareness, but also qualified lead clicking those links in the AI. Brings up other signals as well that are great for organic search. Links, brand mentions, authority, all those are great for elevating your whole website, both in organic search and AI answers as well. Now we'll go to a more complicated part, and the newest part. How do we convert without any clicks coming to our site? Again, I don't have all the answers. It's very hard to measure, very hard to attribute, very hard to figure out how well you're doing, because answers are so dynamic and so personalized, much more personalized at this point they were even 6 months ago. So there are still questions on how do you measure your progress, but I will try to explain the fundamental part of how AI generates those answers and what you can do now to increase your chances to be listed as one of them. So the query could be, I need shoes immediately, like tomorrow or even today, and I need to try them before buying. Let's say I put that prompt in a ChatGPT AI mode, doesn't matter at this point. So how does an AI platform figure out where your brand should be listed there? It should know about you, so that there is some entity-driven brand building component here for sure, just like it has always been in Google. It has always been important to be a brand. But how do you make it sure that you are listed for that particular prompt is when you need to make sure that AI knows that you sell shoes, you have fast shipping, and you have the try before you buy option. It should be try before you buy for sure. When you have all of these properties, when identifiers on your side and everywhere else, you are the top answer for that prompt. So the tactic here is to engineer your whole digital footprint to keep talking about these three unique identifiers for your brand. You have shoes, you do very fast shipping, and you allow people to try before they buy. Anytime any prompts have, oh, not even have those, but suggests those needs, you will be in the answer. So how do you do that? It's a long, complicated process for sure, especially for bigger brands that have a lot of competition. I always suggest when there is a startup to narrow down as much as you can, like you could say niche down, always have been a very effective tactic in SEO for competitive industries. When there are too many established competitors, you have to niche down to long tail, to something unique. Pretty much the same, but a little bit more complicated. You need to have a very well defined digital footprint that keeps talking about the same identifiers again and again. That includes your own website, and we refer to this as brand knowledge content. Many websites like that. Making sure your shipping terms are explained very well, making sure you have a very well detailed about page, all of that has schema so that it's much easier for all kinds of bots to pull that information from your website. Keep repeating your best selling point throughout the site, building content strategy behind that as well, so that those identifiers are being emphasized again and again in different contexts. That's all food for AI, just like any other website. Your website is food for AI, and the more clear you make it, how you're different, what's your best unique selling points, the better your chances are that you will be surfaced for the relevant questions. That's why I keep saying that SEO at this point, whether you call it GEO, AIO, it doesn't matter. SEO, we agree that's a broader term for all of that, needs to have product positioning strategy included. SEO now have to talk to product development teams, to decision makers, to make sure they understand all those key features that define the brand and its value proposition, whether it's lower prices, whether it's fastest delivery, whether it's best customer service. It all should be part of SEO and content strategy at this point, because that's all food for thought. The more you are definitive with all of that, the better. AI bots, AI platforms cannot figure out vague brands who try to be good at everything. They need to know exactly how they're different and which problems they are solving. And that is the job of SEO today, to make sure AI training data has very definitive context for every brand. Apart from the brand knowledge content that talks about your brand, problem solving content, like I mentioned before, also should be part of that strategy as well, that puts your products exactly inside the problem solving context. This is the prompt, in other words. In most cases, that's going to be a prompt, maybe not exactly that phrased the way that it's on your website, but many people will be asking help for solving some problems, and you put that your products inside the article telling exactly how that you are solving that problem. That is the most powerful way and the most powerful AI, food for AI. That's the best way to refer to it. Co-citation, again, nothing new with that. We've been dealing with that for many years, ever since Google introduced the knowledge graph, when they mapped all the entities and all the brands, and they made sure that they know which brand is good for which one and which one is associated with the other one. At that even point, being mentioned in the same context as other brands has been one of the most powerful way to have that knowledge panel in Google, to have suggestions to your competitors. When someone searches for your competitor's name, you may be suggested as the related search or related brand. The co-citation is when you appear and linked to in the same context as your competitors. Usually those are listicles. You remember top experts, top lawyers, top whatever, top products for that, top brands for selling shoes. You have to be in all those listicles, and not just that. At this point, the link is not as important as just being there. So we're talking not just co-citation, but also co-occurrence, that's called, when your brand is there but not necessarily linked to your website. Still a great way to get into the training data and get those associations. But at this point, it's not just being there, but again, having all those identifiers that make you different from your competitors. Better shipping terms, better something unique, maybe it's like human approach, best customer service, AI, whatever you have on your company that differentiates you from your competitors should be making to as many of these co-citation articles as possible. Sometimes it involves reaching out to people who are already featuring you and asking them to add some details. Sometimes, in many cases, brands just create those listicles themselves, list themselves as one of the options, make sure they at least have some control over that sentiment. However it works in your case can be different from niche to niche, from business model to business model, but being listed next to your competitors is one of the best ways to be in the to be positioned in the training data and to appear in those answers. One more big thing to mention here is being mentioned in Reddit. As we know, both Google and ChatGPT do use Reddit for their training data. They have official agreements with Reddit. Reddit is everywhere in organic search. I'm sure you've noticed that, but it's also everywhere in ChatGPT, in Gemini, in AI mode, in all those platforms that your customers are now using to find you. So being mentioned on Reddit, especially if it's like recommend me the best something, recommend me the best product for that, or like what is the best solution for that. If you are mentioned in those threads, best thing ever. Again, it's a tricky situation here with Reddit. You cannot just go around Reddit and suggest yourself as one of the options. It should be much more ethical because Reddit can smell all the self-promotion very well. I've been dealing with a lot of reputation management problems after brands try to be too promotional on Reddit. So there's not quite easy solution to this. I would suggest before you try to do anything on Reddit, set up some research, how Reddit is currently discussing you and your competitors, what your competitors seem to be doing with Reddit, what is your branded search, like does Reddit rank for your branded search or for your competitors, and how you are discussed on Reddit. So I would definitely start with a lot of research on that topic and maybe monitoring. We can use BuzzSumo to monitor what is being mentioned on Reddit and how, and go from there. Reddit is not something to take lightly, for sure. It can backfire in so many ways, but it is not the channel to ignore at this point as well. Unfortunately, Reddit has been around for many years. Most businesses stayed away from that because it's such a tricky platform to be in and try to build visibility in. But now it's almost unavoidable. If you cannot do anything about Reddit, at least you need to keep an eye what's going on there and make some conclusions from that, what you need to change, how to get improved, develop your brand visibility on Reddit through at least official account, so be able to address some of the questions that are being discussed there. So being very carefully, but absolutely something to keep an eye on is Reddit and how you are being discussed there. That's the major source for building training data for AI. Finally, that is all called relevance engineering. You will see this term being mentioned more and more. If you think about that, is building your footprint. So in SEO, we did care about our outbound mentions, backlinks, but we didn't so much pay attention to how we're mentioned, negative sentiment that we may be appearing in, who you were mentioned with, in which articles, and how you are being positioned. So the SEO is evolving to include all of that. So you have to know which and where and how you are mentioned. And again, try to differentiate yourself. My favorite example is travel blogging industry, for example. There are lots of traveling bloggers. How does AI decide which travel blogger to recommend? Just based on the prompt. So you cannot be just a great travel blogger, not anymore at least, because we have to be appearing as the recommendation. You can be a niche blogger solving particular problems. For example, you can have kids, you can have full-time job, and how do you make traveling work with these two unique identifiers? These are two unique problems you are solving. You're still managing to do what you're doing, but you are solving these two specific problems. So if you make sure that all your content aligns to these particular problems and you can solve them and you keep talking about them, that's whenever anyone is asking ChatGPT or AI mode something like, okay, I want to travel, but I have kids and I have a full-time job. How do I do that? At that point, you will be the top of the answer. You will be referenced and mentioned, and you will be in the center of that answer because you did your best to identify yourself as solving those two exact problems. And that is the relevance engineering that we will have to deal with in the future more and more, because people are getting trained to just find quick answers and just roll with those. With that, thank you so much. I am ready for any questions that you may have. I hope you have some. And I'm sorry. Okay.
Awesome. Well,
Queen.
thank you, Anne. I'm going to throw up a couple of these questions. So here we go.
This fan out technique via CSV seems like a fairly manual process with so many Gemini searches and unique prompts going into LLMs. ChatGPT, how are you planning to automate this process? Are you considering using software like Profound featured earlier or Peak AI? I love Profound. I don't have experience with Peak AI. Let me tell you that I've been in SEO for 20 years and at some point I was known as someone reviewing tools. That all I did, reviewing and comparing all kinds of SEO tools. I love running tools, but I always, whatever I do, I always combine that with searching manually. My biggest SEO tool is Google. I search for every main query for my client to understand what is showing up, why there are particular sections, what are the relevant questions asking people to ask, what are related searches. So manually, I don't think I've ever done any client audit without actually searching. Same with ChatGPT, Gemini, and Heva. Yes, it is a manual process for at least your main prompts. You don't have to track millions of prompts. It's usually a handful of main keywords that you want to be featured for, unless you're on Amazon. But for your main queries, make sure you ask Gemini and download that CSV file with all the options and read them. It's not just for AI optimization. You will get a much better understanding of searching journeys, of all kinds of problems that you may have, that your customers may have when they are searching for you without knowing that they're searching for you. All of that. So yes, by all means, use tools as well. I use Profound. I use SimilarWeb has a very powerful AI analytics, AI intelligence tools that they have launched not a few months ago, I think. SimilarWeb is great. Profound is great. Try them as well, but nothing replaces manual searching. For at least your main query, make sure that you converse with Gemini a lot. Ask it follow-up questions. Say, what if my client does this? What if my client did that? Like, what other problems they may have? That is so enlightening when it comes to understanding your customers, which questions they are